Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who is currently bopping his way back from Coney Island. It's David Thompson.
Mark, come out to play. Mark, come out to play.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, what a wonderful intro, man. Thank you for that.
Oh man, it's good to talk to you, and I'm glad we're talking about the Warriors today.
And I really appreciate that you went out all the way to Coney Island, got with a metal detector, and you found a bunch of artifacts from the late 70s, early 80s, and you brought back time-appropriate bottles to make the sounds.
Yes, it was important, and actually, I had to find those short Coors beer bottles, which are like antiques. Had to get the proper sound out of that. So
how you been? Have you been bopping around? How you been?
Good. I got my leather jacket here back behind me. I got my Chucks on, my white T-shirt. I'm missing my bandana, but I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to bop some heads.
So this gang, the Warriors, they're Swan, Ajax, Cleon, Snow, Cochise, Cowboy, Rembrandt, Fox, and Vermin. They're the members of this group. What would our nicknames be, Dave? What would you Dave Rhodey Thompson?
No, I'm gonna go with Cheese Whiz.
Cheese Whiz?
Yeah, and my job was like Rembrandt. He had to spray paint the W on the buildings. I'm just gonna use Cheese Whiz, and we're gonna be called the Zardoz Gang. We're gonna be dressed like Sean Connery with red black knee-high boots and red underwear on, and we're just gonna spray paint the letter Z and Cheese Whiz.
And just we all have to have mustaches too and ponytails.
Yeah, exactly. Ponytails and mustaches, and we keep getting our asses kicked because we invested more in our costumes and the ability to fight.
Yeah, we look the part, but
we just can't fight for shit because we're like, damn, we spent too much time working on our wardrobe, and now we're having to actually fight.
Let me pitch you this. What if we have the Zardoz look, but we learn how to fight, knowing that people make fun of us? So everybody they're like, hey, there's the Zardozes, then they run away from us because we actually
we'd be carrying pistols and samurai swords, so we would look fierce if we knew how to actually fight.
When we shoot the guns, they just go flying. The samurai swords, one of us always gets hurt.
Yeah, no, it would be a pretty funny outfit. By the way, that was a sign of the times. Most of those gangs, the whole thing was cartoony. I mean, it really was like a graphic novel.
Well, it was. It was based on a book.
It was based on a book, but it didn't actually turn into kind of a cartoonish thing until I think the director's cut, when Walter Hill started adding the comic book patina.
Yeah,
some of the freeze frame, and then the white, and it looked like it was like a comic book panel on that. But yeah, I mean, it lent credence to that kind of graphic novel kind of comic booky thing, because these guys, I mean, any real gang back then wouldn't have been caught wearing high hats and
yeah
and roller skates, so. But yeah, the gangs, I mean, they invented. I looked online the other day. There was literally 100 or more names of gangs that they invented.
Yeah, I love going through the rankings. They rank all the gangs in this movie, and I love reading through the different gangs and their different outfits. You got the mimes, the boppers, the electric group,
electric boogaloos, the hi hats.
I love them all, man. And then, oh crap! I have the notes here. You have the rogues. Who are the dudes on? Oh man, the dudes on the bus. The skinheads.
Turnbull ACs.
Yeah.
Those guys actually were the nastiest looking group in that. I mean, they look like a bunch of skinhead racists in real life. I mean, those guys were dangerous looking.
If they got a hold of the Warriors, it'd be bad.
The ones that I got that were probably the strongest, and I would be afraid to fight them, were the Riffs.
Oh, yeah, because there's so many of them.
Oh, no, there were so many of them, and they all looked like they knew Kung Fu.
Yes. And do you see what they did to Cleon, man? They wiped Cleon off the map after Cleon just destroyed all the rogues.
By the way, I mean, we can get to this. That end scene, I think we were robbed of an ultimate fight. We were literally... Yeah. There should have been a real knockdown drag out between the rogues and the Warriors, but the Riffs interrupted the whole thing and doled out their justice to them. But
I think
that would have been a final fight that we would be discussing on your other podcast. But yeah, we got robbed of that.
The Warriors would have wiped the floor with the little rogues, though.
So backstory, so everybody is not familiar with this film. These guys are from Coney Island, the Warriors. The Warriors were supposed to go, and there's supposed to be a knowing see-all, like
Luther's going
to bring all the gangs together in the New York area, and they're going to have one massive gang unit, and they're going to take over New York City. And it was a wild dream, but they got all the gangs to stop fighting for a day and unite. It would have been a dangerous thing in New York City if these guys had all united. But so the whole point of the story is they all go to a mass meeting of all the gangs, and then the rogues assassinate the Riff's leader.
Luther.
No, Luther was.
I'm sorry. Cyrus.
Cyrus. So Luther from the Rogues assassinates Cyrus, who is the lead riffraff, and they're gonna.
I did not dig that, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, and so it caused all the gangs to disperse, and now the Warriors are going, oh man, we're gonna have to bop our way back to Coney Island, which means all the truce is off. So basically, this is almost like a video game, which they did turn into a video game, I think, in 2005, I believe. And so these guys would fight their way back to their home turf. With all the different gangs in New York City. So it's an interesting, and it all takes place in one night. So it's got this really great feel to it. I think the cinematography, I thought, for a fairly low budget film looked really great.
Oh, dude, Laszlo crushed it. Andrew Laszlo?
Yeah. Well, if you saw the director's cut, the opening scene took place in the daytime between Coach Heese and his girlfriend, I think. Anyway, they were talking about this supposed truce and this big meeting. And I believe Laszlo came up to Walter Hill and said, hey, this thing in the context of a night doesn't work. You need to make this all in one night, not just a daytime, intro in the daytime. So he had to reshoot that scene in the opening scene on the subways and add all that commentary about what these guys were fixing to do, which made sense. And that also led to, of course, the rain, which gave him an opportunity to wet the streets down. And it looked great. I mean, it really looked really solid for a fairly low budget film. And this is 1979. So. And
it's incredibly hot when they shot, and there is inclement weather in New York. So he just said, listen, if we make a rainstorm in the beginning when they're running away, we can have the streets wet down the entire time to help us with lighting. So it was a brilliant decision because they could shoot at any time of the day because they knew it had rained early, or not any time of the day, but any day after it rained because it had rained. It was a smart decision on his part. For sure.
Oh no, yeah, but yeah, it looked great. I mean, it was a constant wetness to the whole,
And I love how he lit the scene where the baseball furies fight when the baseball furies are chasing the Warriors.
By the way, that we talked about the Turnbull ACs being the baddest. Man, those guys, the baseball furies were the best. I mean, as far as like the best costume and the baddest look, baseball furies.
Yeah, and they had cardio. Yeah, and they had cardio for days, man. These dudes could run. But you know what, though? When the fight started, Ajax and Swan just beat the living daylights out of them. It wasn't even really a fight between those guys. And Snow, like it wasn't a brawl at all. So they looked cool, but once Ajax got a hold of them, man, it was game over.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean they were there. I love that line that he says, "I'll take this baseball bat, and shove it up your ass, and turn you into."
Yes. Oh man, what a great line too. And he wasn't lying either, man. That dude, Ajax, he was an idiot and he got caught. And
James Remar is the actor, and oh my God, he is so amazing, and probably one of the few actors that went on to a pretty successful movie career and TV career as well to this day. But he was so good in that role, man. He just wanted to bust some heads.
And they knew it too. Like Cleon's like, shut up, man. Just be a warrior. We're not busting heads on the way down there. They had to keep him in check.
Yeah. Speaking of the baseball furies, real quick, I just saw on a little trivia thing. Did you know that Robert Townsend, the actor director, was a baseball fury? He was uncredited. He was a baseball fury in the movie.
I did not know that. That's fun.
And then he went on to star in Walter Hill's Streets of Fire. He was in that as well. So, a little known fact, Robert Townsend was a baseball fury in the movie. So, yeah, kind of cool.
I'll tell you, you know how Remar got the role? During his audition, he had to play a scene where he was locked to a table. So his audition was when he got arrested by the cop. And he lifted up a hundreds of pound table off the ground because he got so into it.
The directors and the producers sitting at the table. Yeah, that was awesome. That's the way to nail it, man. Just total, method actors go in there and tear the place up.
And there's two interesting things that I really find interesting in this is that they shot during the summer, and what they didn't anticipate is that the nights were going to be so short in New York City. And they also didn't anticipate just how, there were gangs like this. So they had a gang that was consulting them. So when they would go out to shoot.
Well, also hired a security, too.
Yeah, so they had hired security, and then they would have to pay people every night when they shot so their tires didn't get cut, slashed, or stuff disappeared, or the actors get pissed on. I mean, they had to pay people off to shoot in New York. And this is all nights, man. What a nightmare. So you're shooting, 6 hours? You have 6 hours to shoot, I would say. And so I was working. I don't know if you ever worked with any of these guys, but I worked with a couple of the Warriors during my time at Wizard World. And I worked with David Harris, who plays Cochise in this. Yeah. And he told me some cool stories, man. He said that there are people lined up just watching, and the Warriors were the hottest thing. And he said all they did was run, so they all got ripped. And he just said he had a great time filming it. He was saying it was all nights, but by the way that the look on his face, man, he said he had loved his experience of shooting that movie. But it seemed really stressful because they also had Fox, played by Thomas Waits. They had to rewrite the script, man. So they originally had different people getting killed. Like I think Cochise was killed, Vermin was killed by the Lizzies, all this, and then they had to change it up and they killed off Fox because Walter Hill just got so sick of him. Oh yeah. So what happened was I read an oral history of it, and so when Thomas Waits was cast, he was kind of a James Dean type guy, and the script was a lot different. It was more about these kind of bad kids learning the right thing through the course of the night, and so he and what's her name? Mercy were supposed to be the couple, and they were supposed to make it back. People were supposed to die, and he was going to learn to be a better person. But throughout the course of the thing, with all the changing and the fights, Thomas Waits was like, this is more about violence, and I don't like it. And he wouldn't leave his trailer, and all the Warriors were in one trailer, Dave. So they paid to get 2 trailers for all the Warriors, and he says he regrets it now. But he actually went to play Specs in the thing later on, which is pretty cool. But he said he really regrets his actions on it. And one day Walter Hill said he felt bad too. They just killed off that scene where he gets thrown under the train. Walter Hill just went, I got to kill this guy. And they also realized that Swan had much better chemistry with Mercy. So they just wiped him out, and they had to rewrite scenes on the fly.
Yeah, and I think in that same scene where he gets thrown under the train, I think that was a scene where Deborah Van Valkenburgh, Mercy, she broke her wrist because the stuntman, I guess, didn't let go in time when they fell or something, so she broke her wrist. And that's why that she disappeared for a while after that scene, and then showed up with a jacket on. She, because she was wearing just that pink top and skirt, but now she shows up with a rain, slicker jacket. And they had to explain, he goes, what's with the jacket? Swan goes, what's with the jacket? She goes, I stole it. But yeah, she's hiding her broken wrist in that scene on that. And she says it's also got stitches in the forehead because she got hit. I think Swan was swinging a bat and he hit her in the head.
Wow.
So, I mean, she got beat up in that movie, man. And she's so great in that film. I think she could have been the next Karen Allen.
Oh, really?
I think it was that same time frame. She was tough. She's gone on to do some other things. She's still acting, but I think she went on also to go in Streets of Fire, which was the next Walter Hill movie she was in. But I thought she would have. I could see her in Indiana Jones. I mean, I thought she was just a tough chick. She pulled that her own against the Warriors really well.
And I like how she punked out the orphans too. The orphans were.
That's the worst. That's the worst gang.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, where do you find all those army green, ratty fucking green shirts, and 70s bell-bottom jeans? Those guys were just horrible. I mean, they couldn't even fight because at the very end it was like, the Warriors throw a Molotov cocktail at them and they all run away like the Three Stooges. They're like, hey, woo, 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 woo. It's like running away, going, yeah. So those are shit. Those guys were horrible. But that was the funny part of that whole gang thing was those guys were just absolutely at the very bottom.
Imagine if Ajax got a hold of those guys, though. It's better that they ran away, because if those dudes got a hold of them, oh my gosh, it would have been.
Oh no,
bloodfest.
Yeah, these guys the Warriors were just ready, man. They were just, I mean, those are street fighters. Those guys were, coming out of Coney Island. They weren't putting up with any bullshit. So
yeah, if you look at the gang, you had Swan who could fight, Ajax could fight, Cleon could fight, Snow was just kind of the nice, sensitive kid, right? Snow could fight too. Yeah,
Cowboy got his ass kicked by the baseball furies.
He did redeem himself in the bathroom, though.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Cochise and Snow could fight. Rembrandt was the chill kid. Rembrandt was like the nice, sensitive gang member, but he still threw some punches. And then Fox, we never see.
He spray painted, guys in the face. So I mean, he was using his paint cans as weapons. So
exactly. And then Vermin could brawl, but he got body slammed into a mirror in that bathroom fight. But so what's funny? He was supposed to be killed by the Lizzies, but he purposely made himself more funny, his character more funny.
Yeah. So he was kind of. He was a comic relief.
But he was dropping some bombs on those, I don't know, the rugby overall guys. Those rugby overall guys were pretty tough, though. That was a solid scrap that they had. Swan got rocked in there, and that was probably their biggest. They were tougher than the Furies, I would say.
I think they had. Oh, I read that was the only set they had to build.
Wow.
Yeah, the bathroom scene was the only actual set they built. Everything else was filmed in New York. But I read somewhere that was the only actual set that they built was for that scene, for the bathroom scene. And it was a tough fight. Close quarter bathroom stalls. Yeah.
And they had to get tough PAs to work on it because people were just thinking I'm New York. And so they would try to bust through and step on set. So the PAs on set had to be able to rumble a little bit. The production assistants to keep people away.
Anyway, all the extras, the Turnbull ACs, those were all extras. And apparently when they went to like food trucks to eat, people ran away from them in fear because they just looked like the real thing, like just a bunch of skinhead fucks.
Yeah, I love that line by Ajax. Oh, that was so cool. When James Remar says that.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
So I got something interesting here. Cleon was supposed to be killed by the Gramercy Riffs. Cochise is killed by the Baseball Furies. Ajax is caught by the police. Vermin is killed by the Lizzies. And did you hear about Swan's? Side plot where he gets kidnapped by the Dingoes? Have you heard about that?
Yes, it was a homosexual band, leather gang or. Yeah. I don't know that would have gone over very well.
No.
I'm glad they didn't. They decided not to film that. That would have ended up like the scene from oh God.
It would have played so wrong, and it would have played very backwards for sure. And I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, it would have been like that geek scene in Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah.
It would have been really uncomfortable to watch. So
I got to tell you though, one other thing I love about this movie, and I love that you suggested it. This is a short movie, Dave. This is not a long movie. This is 90 minutes.
Yeah, hour and a half, something like that.
You're in and out, and there's nothing better than that.
No, it's solid. I mean, these are all young first-time actors. I mean, literally, I think a few had been in a stage play or something, but this was first-time actors, and they were solid. I mean, every character was interesting to watch. Everybody had a specialty, but I'll tell you who really knocked this thing out of the park was David Patrick Kelly, who plays Luther.
Oh yeah, he crushed that.
Oh my God, he was. This must have actually kind of hurt his career, just like I wanted to say. The Spicoli character from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
I mean, he had that same. He was too good in that role. It was one of these things where apparently he had been in a play with I want to say it was Sigourney Weaver, and Walter Hill saw the play. He was in Israel, I believe. Walter Hill saw the play and liked him, and then he already had the hair, and so Walter Hill was like, "Don't cut your hair." So I mean, he had the look down.
Oh, wait, are you talking about Swan or Luther?
Luther.
Okay.
So David Patrick Kelly.
Got it.
Who, by the way, any John Wick fans out there, David Patrick Kelly plays Charlie the Cleaner in the John Wick movies. So he's gone on to do, really great stuff too. But
got it. That's why I got confused, because Luther, he was in New York when they saw him, and then Michael Beck was the one in Israel with Sigourney Weaver. He played Swan. That's why I got all the sorts. My bad.
No, I must have it backwards then. But apparently it got to the point where Walter Hill felt so comfortable with David Patrick Kelly that he needed him to taunt the Warriors in that wharf scene, and so Patrick Kelly came up with that bottle clanking. He said it was based on a neighbor of his that always taunted him when he was growing up, but he on the fly he came up with that Warriors come out to play, and it's perfect. It's so crazy. It's so over the top. It's scary. It just proved he was not right in the head. He was crazy. Even that one line where somebody asked him, why are you doing this? He goes, I just like doing stuff like this. just the way he delivered the lines was just amazing. He goes, I'm having a great time. Oh, he was crazy. He's so good in that movie, but
he adds that menace. I mean, he adds that. What I like about him is he adds that wild card vibe that you need.
Oh no, he was a powder keg. Mm-hmm. You didn't know where, what was happening. And, in the last scene where, Swan and him fight when they finally hit Coney Island, the beach in Coney Island, I felt robbed, but that scene reminded me, did you ever see The Magnificent Seven?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, there's a scene in there where James Colburn has a switchblade. He's known for being really good with a switchblade, and there's some kind of bet going on with this other cowboy that, he's saying that James Colburn can beat him in a draw against a gun. And that scene where it's Colburn with a switchblade against a cowboy with a six-shooter, and Colburn wins. James Colburn wins. And then they do it for real because, the cowboy wasn't satisfied, and he kills him before he has a chance. That's the same scene in that Warriors where Swan throws the switchblade right before Luther shoots the gun. So it's feasible in movie world that worked, but it was such a letdown because I really wanted them just to beat the living shit out of those guys because they deserved it, man.
I guess what the problem is, we had never seen Swan with a knife before. So maybe in the beginning, if we saw him doing some tricks with it, and then someone said, we can't bring knives, man. And so he puts the knife down, or does that make sense? But at the end, he just pulls out a blade and he's throwing that thing like nothing. It did feel rushed. But
yeah, you're right. They were always grabbing, for weapons of any sort. Like they stole the Baseball Fury bats, or picking up pieces of pipes, broken bottles. So all of a sudden he's got a switchblade. Yeah. It was, oh yeah, I had this all along. I forgot.
That dude looked the part though, man. Swan. So you and I watch a lot of movies. How often do you just fully believe that a character is a badass? I believe that this gang, these guys were badasses. I bought into Swan. I bought into Cochise. I bought into Ajax. Yeah. I believe that they could just beat up the Baseball Furies, the rollerblading guys. I knew they could wipe out the orphans.
No, they looked the part. They looked like they had a tough life. I mean, they came out of Coney, and it looks like, and they fought and scrapped their way,
And what a simple plot. Isn't it beautiful? Sorry to interrupt, Dave. Sorry, man. Isn't it just a beautifully simple plot? And that's what I love, man.
Well, wasn't it? I read somewhere where Walter Hill did this based on a Greek mythology.
Yep.
Something called the Battle of Cunaxa.
Yep, and 10,000 Greek warriors had to fight their way for 1,000 miles
back to their home.
Yep, forced march.
So I mean, it has that Greek mythology kind of quest of impossible odds to get home. I mean, you had to battle your way, and it just had some great one-liners in it, like
it does.
Can you dig it? Mm-hmm. Can you count, suckers? And the very last line that Swan says in the movie when they get home just kind of summed it up. And he said, this is what we were fighting to get back home to. This is what we fought all night to get to. That was such a great, it's like they grew up.
Yeah.
They grew up at night, and they get back to their home turf, and he's looking at Coney Island, and he goes, this is what we fought all night to get to. And they had just had a realization that this is not the life that I want. So they all grew up overnight. I mean, they literally realized that what they were doing wasn't worth getting yourself killed. And so it had a redemption on it. But yeah, they all grew overnight, and I guess you could say they became adults and realized that this was a waste of their time. But I'll tell you, there were a couple of really great scenes that were just very nuanced. Do you remember when they were going home finally, and they're on the subway, and the prom couples come in?
Yeah, I love that.
And they're all dressed up in beautiful dresses and tuxedos, and then there's Swan and Mercy, filthy, covered in dirt and mud, and just torn clothes and beat to shit. And they're sitting across this beautiful young prom couple, and you see Mercy reach up to adjust her hair because she was embarrassed about the way she looked. And you see Swan grab her hand and gently pull it down like, fuck those guys. It's not worth it. We are better than them. And it was a touching moment. And I think that was the point where I think Swan and Mercy became a couple. I think that was, I mean, he was protecting her, and he was telling her at the same time that don't be ashamed of who you are. You know, and it was very simple. It was just a simple gesture, and it was just a look. And then at that point, they flash back to the prom couple, and they all look like, we need to get off this train now. So they like run out of the train and leave them. But God, what a great scene on that.
And then he gives her the corsage.
Then he gives her the corsage that was dropped on the floor. He gives it to her. So yeah, that was a touching moment. Probably really tough for Swan because he didn't look like kind of guy that was, you know, going to be romantic. So that was kind of his gesture of romance on that.
Yeah, they had such good chemistry on set. They just paired them up. It was supposed to be her and Fox, but then they weren't popping. So you could see the scenes where Fox is supposed to have like Swan's like, hey, Fox, come with me. And then Fox is running with her at that scene, and they were supposed to go on their own adventure. Walter Hill just hated weights, and they've made up, like they're buds now. Yeah, it's pretty interesting how this movie had to change on the fly. But I tell you, man, just like Mad Max Fury Road, we just talked about that. Just they leave the Citadel, they come back to the Citadel. In the Warriors, they leave Coney Island, they come back to Coney Island. I love that, and in the beginning, it shows how long the subway trip is. Like I don't understand this, I don't know what to do here, so it shows how long the journey is to get to where they're going.
That goes back to you and I did a Sorcerer podcast, and it's the same thing with the odometer on the truck.
Yes.
That you needed to see how far they were going to have to go on their journey, what it looked like, and how close they're going to get, you know, to their destination. So those were important. Yeah, the subway maps were important for them to, you know, determine how far their journey was going to be.
And I'm so happy I didn't work on this movie, Dave. They had an AD quit, and then they brought in a California first AD who they thought wasn't tough enough for New York. But then he went and proved himself. But did you hear the kind of how they set up the massive gang scene? Did you listen to that section of the interviews? How they did that in the beginning?
I don't remember
I got it. The AD was smart enough to set up a God mic, which means the mics were everywhere. So so he didn't have to stand in the middle of them and scream. They just had microphones everywhere so that the gangs would listen. And they said, like, and it actually kept people under control because there are actually different gangs there.
So I did read something where Walter Hill, they had him do an inner circle, a middle circle, an outer circle, and they were all supposed to run counterclockwise to each other.
Yep.
So every other circle was going in an opposite direction. So that was the one thing I remember hearing about was the direction to make that scene look chaotic. It actually was controlled chaos.
They did but imagine how, Dave, we've dealt with crowds before. They had to deal with gang members at night, and somehow they pulled it off. And it's really interesting, too. When is a movie that you can think about that has the biggest set piece in the beginning?
Wow.
Right? Isn't that they did something pretty daring here. I just thought that was pretty interesting that from the rest of the film, it only gets smaller. If you think about it, so they're out in the open, right? And they have their massive, they deal with the orphans out in the open, and then they get chased by the Turnbulls, and they have the fight in the park. But then it goes to the bathrooms, and then it goes to the subways. It's pretty interesting how they sort of narrowed it down.
And it ends up on a beach, a real big open, area. Yeah. So it kind of goes back to the open area on that. So yeah, interesting take on that. I did read, and I don't know how true this is, that apparently they were going to get Orson Welles to do narration at the beginning.
Yeah, they tried.
How weird was that? It was. It kind of reminds me of how pissed off I think Harrison Ford was to have to go back and do narration for Blade Runner.
Oh, goodness gracious,
because
yeah.
Apparently the movie execs didn't think it made any sense, and so now you got to add narration to it, and so that was I can imagine that was the only reason why somebody was thinking that. Well, yeah, we got to have some narration here to create some kind of backstory for these guys, and I'm glad they didn't do it. It would have been interesting to have Orson Welles narrate the beginning of the movie, but
an eighth of their budget probably too, just to get him.
Well, this movie didn't do real well, but
it's not its fault.
Well, it also got, much like Clockwork Orange, it got pulled because of the violence. It got pulled out of the movie theaters, and it wasn't necessarily because it's cartoon violence, not like today, but it was because real gangs were going to the movies to see the Warriors and actually clashing in the movie theaters. And so it became a dangerous situation that theater owners were pulling the movie. So, I mean, it kind of got a bad rep, but all that did was just make it, people want to see it more. But it didn't get great reviews at the time. But one of the things that I don't know is true, and again, it's just me researching some of the folklore of this. Apparently, according to Michael Beck, apparently President Reagan saw the movie.
Yep.
And called him and said he liked it.
You know what it is? You know what I think it is, man? It's just Walter Hill's meat and potatoes approach. You feel the sweat, you feel the grime, you feel the urgency, you feel the fights. It's very cartoonish, but it's also grounded. I think that appeals to a lot of people, would you say? And just the way how muscular it is. I think that's a good word for it.
Well, it was a teen movie. It was just it just was not presented, in the normal 80s teen kind of thing. But it was a great movie. It just didn't click with a lot of people. It's to this day, I think it's one of the great films of the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, it's 1979, so it's right there on the cusp. But it had some tough competition that year.
Oh, there's so, but it did all right.
1979 was a great year for films.
Oh, great year for films.
Oh my God! I mean, and then Alien, which Walter Hill produced. Walter Hill produced all the Alien movies, so that he had a gift for action films in an unusual way. But God, there were so many great films.
Mad Max, Alien, Apocalypse Now, Escape from Alcatraz. There's Meatballs?
The China Syndrome, Monty Python's Life of Brian, Moonraker, Rock and Roll High School, wow. Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and one of my favorite films, Time After Time, with Malcolm McDowell. I don't know if you ever saw that. That's where he plays H.G. Wells, actually who created a time machine chasing Jack the Ripper. So that was another great film. But yeah, what a great year for movies. I mean, solid stuff. I
mean, look at Alien, Warriors, Mad Max. Those are just so iconic. And you know what? Do you think this is what kind of keeps Warriors so popular? I mean, look at Mad Max and Alien as well. The practical sets. The Warriors hasn't aged terribly because they shot on location. They shot in actual places. I mean, they had a subway. There's subways now. It's just
the costumes were, the Warriors costumes was timeless. That could be today. Some of the other cartoonish stuff, no. But I mean, you're right. It holds up really well on that. But, I think we have, I saw this movie when it first came out.
Did you go fight somebody?
No, but I mean, you get jacked up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just like James Remar's character Ajax. To me, he really stood out. I mean, he was just he was cocky, sure of himself. I mean,
kind of dumb.
Kind of dumb. By the way, that scene where he gets arrested by the undercover cop, that undercover cop was Mercedes Ruehl.
Oh, wow.
The actress?
Yeah.
Who went on to play in another one of my favorite movies. She played Jeff Bridges' long-suffering girlfriend in The Fisher King, which is just a great movie. But yeah, Mercedes Ruehl played the undercover cop in that scene. So yeah, that was kind of interesting.
Ajax is so tough that he knocked out one of those cops with one hand while being handcuffed to that bench.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
And I got to give props to the stunt coordinator. His name's Craig Baxley. He went on to direct Action Jackson. And he directed Dark Angel with Dolph Lundgren and Stone Cold, the movie with Brian Bosworth, the action film that's absolutely insane. Yeah. But he also did stunts on Predator, A-Team, Dukes of Hazzard, Diamonds Are Forever. This guy, Craig Baxley, they didn't have much time for these fight scenes. Okay, they play like a movie fight scene, but there's also a certain violence to them and a swiftness to them that plays well. There isn't a 8-minute fight scene when these guys get hit. When Ajax lands on guys, or when Swan lands on a guy, or Cochise lands on the guy, there's a scene where Vermin gets on top of a guy and just starts leveling his face. So it's obviously stuntmen and the actors, and it's choreographed, but it does have a certain physicality. It ages well. I'm not comparing it to the Raid, but that would be unfair. I think they handled the fights really well too, and there's a narrative behind the fights too.
The only flaw is I read that the stunt coordinator in the scene where Cyrus gets killed and he falls back.
Yeah.
It's a white guy.
Yes, it is.
in the outfit, and you can't see it that well, but you can tell that it's not the actor who played Cyrus in it. And so
I do have to say, I think this movie could be good for students or young filmmakers to study and research just based on the on-location shooting. So in the subway, they couldn't change the lights. So the DP, Andrew Laszlo, got the lights and attached them to different, he found the same lights and he attached them to different things so they could keep the lighting, but all the same.
And they weren't ashamed that those lights, you could clearly see the lights in the trees.
Yes.
during the fight scene
yes.
Of the baseball Furies, but it didn't really matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
It gave the scene a really great look, but if you're running through the park going, hey, there's lights attached to these trees, and I just, I didn't think anything of it at first, because now you do see lights, pretty much
in the trees,
nearly in the trees now. So, it was done. It wasn't done for looks other than, lighting up the park. So it had a great after effect. You could clearly see the lights in the trees, but that was a great scene. And
it wasn't until a year later, when in Escape from New York, that they found these new Panavision lenses that were able to shoot in low light. And so in Escape from LA, a lot of it's practical lighting with fires and everything, so they were able to shoot in low light. But that didn't really exist when they were shooting this with the Warriors, and they probably didn't have the budget. Why not just throw some lights in it? Who cares? It's a movie. They're about to fight a bunch of guys dressed like baseball Furies.
That your eyes were on the Furies. You weren't really looking at the trees. You were looking at the baseball Furies, who just, were dressed like Kiss and baseball uniforms, but they did look scary. You saw guys like that chasing with baseball bats. Yeah, I'd run too.
And I got tired watching them run.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a long scene. Those guys were hoofing it. They were hoofing it from the beginning. You see those guys tear around the street corner before they hit the park. The baseball Furies are all in line at full speed coming around that corner. You're like, fuck.
And Cowboy has to slow down, and then Ajax is happy. Cowboy did not handle himself well in that fight, man.
What do you say? He goes, I don't think I can make it. He goes, good, I'm tired of running from these wimps.
And he just lays out the main baseball Fury, just lays them out.
Oh God.
I loved it, man. But they did a good job casting, and Walter Hill stressed getting kids that were real, New York kids. You can't really fake, we've worked in New York, Dave. I've been to New York. You can't fake New York. I think there's a really interesting way that New Yorkers hold themselves. Long-term New Yorkers, not people who move there and call themselves New Yorkers. Like people born and bred there, they have a way of holding themselves, and you could tell that with these guys. That I really dug. I liked it a lot.
It's like I said, it's a solid movie. It's not real long. It's fun to watch. You get vested in the characters. It's a movie of its time. Nowadays some people might laugh at the cartoony outfits or the lack of serious violence. This was street fighting, just bare knuckle fighting. It wasn't, there weren't any Uzis or any, anything major. It was just, it was a sign of the times where the gangs were, they all protected their little, 2-block turf and all had a theme. And it was kind of innocent, but, it looks different if you watch it today. I don't know that it could be remade. Do you think this thing could be remade?
No, absolutely not. Because with the technology now and gangs aren't going to take over. There are a lot. They wanted to take over the cops, so there are a lot of issues with that. But no, I don't think so, because it's an analog movie.
Maybe in a dystopian future, like Escape from New York, where it's just everything is broken down and you have various gangs again. I could see something like that. But as far as a modern day take on the Warriors, nah, I don't think it could be done.
I know there are a lot of action films that, I love Edge of Tomorrow. I love some very digital heavy films, but I always go back to Sorcerer or The Raid or, I don't know, The Night Comes for Us or This or Mad Max. Movies that, I'm not saying they're super kind of analog. They're super fist fights. There's practical stunts. There's real cars. That's the action I love. And I guess that's kind of the stuff I always go back to for this. And that, I don't know, I think but people still love this movie, man. This is it's
a classic. I'm going to throw it out. It's a classic film. It's coming from Walter Hill, who is really good at stylized violence, and also for the fact that he's produced all the Alien films up till now, with Ridley Scott and the other directors, and so it's got a solid pedigree. People and music.
Oh, yeah, I love the score on this.
The score on this is so, it's electronic, but Barry Dvorak, I believe is his name.
Mm-hmm.
Barry Dvorak it's moody. That opening theme song, it makes you want to run.
Yes, it does.
It's music that you should run to. It has this great vibe, but it's all basically electronic synthesizer, except for the very last song, which the Eagles wrote. Seems kind of out of place, but at this time, it's kind of innocent when you look at it at the very end of the movie. But that became a hit for the Eagles, and then I think they also put it on their next album as well. But the whole movie's got that creepy synthesizer stylized stuff. And by the way, Barry Dvorak is known for writing the theme song to SWAT.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's been used in almost all modern movies. So I mean, it's something that Tarantino, will use or has used in the past, but he was known for writing a theme song to SWAT, which is kind of a catchy theme song if you look it up.
I think this one holds up better than some of the other synth-heavy scores that came about in the 80s, late 70s, because there's a rock and roll element to this score, but there's also the synth, and they blend well. It's not just... It's
got guitars.
Yeah.
It's got there's that that opening scene, you have that dun 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 with with the guitar, but it does open with a synthesizer on it. So yeah, it was modern. It still holds up. I have an original soundtrack that I found a couple of years back, and I'll play that. I love that opening theme song or the Warriors theme song on it. It's a solid soundtrack. So
you need to send it to me. You don't need to own it anymore, Dave.
Nah, I got to play that. I usually play that every time I DJ. So it's a great opening song on that. So
hey, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we have something fun to set up, and then we'll also finish up talking about the Warriors. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And Dave and I, we have something funny. You and I, we put together our all fist fighters crew. So you and I both.
I gotta segue in with we have to keep with the theme on it.
Oh, it is.
All right, good.
I liked hearing your finger getting popped out of that bottle too.
Yeah, I can play a tune with it. I went through a lot of effort to get those props. So
whenever I worked with Dave at Comic Cons, I always tied glass bottles around him, so I always knew where he was. Oh, here he comes! I'm running.
All
right. So, do you want to start us off? You'll pick your.
Yeah, I want to. For something that was kind of surprising to me, on Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter for the Warriors is 89%.
Yes.
And the audience score was 88%. So, a really solid film. And I think this is due to, the VHS crowd, the people who go back and find, really great films that may not have been big as a box office, but they held up well, in time. Kind of reminds me, I just read an article, I believe in Esquire, about how The Thing.
Yes, and Blade Runner.
And Blade Runner just died at the box office, and I didn't realize this, but The Thing almost killed Carpenter's career because it did so poorly. But then, due to, and again, I'm going to call it the VHS crowd, people, video stores and fans started rediscovering these things and brought them back to the forefront of just, classic, legendary films that were probably ahead of their time, but they stood up to today's films. They're considered classics. So yeah, I consider the Warriors in that same vein. It may not have done extremely well when it came out, but it's a classic film. But 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, that's not bad at all.
And right here, I'm reading something right now. It has 7.6 on IMDb, which is insane. 89% Rotten Tomatoes, and the box office is bigger than I thought. It made $22.5 million on a $360,000 budget. That's count inflation. That movie made a ton of money when it was out.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, people loved it until they pulled it because people are getting stabbed.
Well, they can always say, President Reagan liked it, so...
Release that sucker. All right, so let's do our fist-fighting crew right now. You ready for this? You want to do our fist-fighting crew?
Yeah, I may need some help on that, but yeah, go ahead.
All right, so my first pick, I picked Frank Armitage from They Live, played by Keith David. I didn't pick Roddy Piper. I picked Keith David because in that fight, Keith David is just lighting Roddy Piper up. He's writing Nada up with his fists. I mean, he's throwing jabs, crosses, hooks, uppercuts. I mean, he is a much better boxer, and he has really good hands. Nada tries to go for low blows, and he has to pick him up. He slams him. But as far as fist fighting goes, Frank in They Live is much tougher than Nada. As far as hands go, he has good hands. So I got to have me some Keith David They Live in here with his fists.
All right, that's a good one. That's a great fight scene, by the way.
Oh,
that's
classic.
Such a great fight. It's such a long fight scene. I'm going to go in an opposite direction. My fights are not going to be. I don't know if I've got enough to make a complete list, but I'm going to start off with Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah.
He fought more than he used the whip. He used his fist more than he used the whip. He was not great at it because my best fight scene that I can think of in a movie was when he's fighting the Nazi, the big Nazi at the plane.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And getting his ass kicked. And it's that one scene where he gets punched squarely in the face and he stumbles back and falls on his ass and he just kind of looks up. That is such a great moment. It's like, I'm not prepared for this. But it's such like a normal human response. Yeah, you're going to get all these fighters, all these people are doing, super fights and whatnot. But I'm kind of for the layman, the guy is good, but just not good enough.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, so Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, the fight scene with the Nazi at the airplane. That's my first pick, I think.
And we have to talk about the way Harrison Ford's iconic throwing of his fists. I mean, he looks like he's going to throw his back out with every punch. He is so committed. It's a perfect movie punch, and I just love his punching. Yeah, no, and who doesn't like punching Nazis? Right, that's a solid one for me. So my next one, I'm gonna pick. This is random, but I'm gonna take Letty from the Fast and the Furious franchise because Michelle Rodriguez's character in these films, she takes out Gina Carano in Fast 6. She takes out what's her name in 7? She takes out Ronda Rousey in 7. In 7, she knocks a dude out with one punch. In the first one, she's punching people. Her punches in these movies are so deadly. And I just, there's a scene where she takes on Carano in a subway and just is throwing knuckles. And I just love and she was in a boxing movie too with Michelle Rodriguez. So if I'm in a fist fighting crew, you gotta have Letty from Fast and the Furious played by Michelle Rodriguez. Because she just scraps. And I love the way she fights. Yeah. Good call. All right. My number 2, and you're going to find this strange. I'm voting for the McFlys from Back to the Future. Oh, of course, dude. One punch KOs. So, one punch changed the world. Yes. So Marty McFly's dead. That one punch altered the future. That to me is the best fight scene. That is just outdone with one punch. But then you got Marty, who, all he does is scrap. He wants to fight. And he's tiny, and he wants to fight, just about anybody. But his dad, that one punch took out Biff, changed the future. So that's my second favorite fight scene. That's over in a flash. Listen, I love that pick because it's hard to knock out people with just one punch. I know movies show that a lot, but I've watched a lot of street brawls as a bouncer in my life, Dave, and I don't think I've maybe seen one. So I've seen people get knocked out, but after about getting hit 15 times. It's just that one clean punch that takes people out. You don't see that in the UFC. You never see one punch knockouts or MMA. So yeah, no, that's a perfect pick, man. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna follow that up with Mickey O'Neill from Snatch, played by Brad Pitt, with his one punch knockout skills. That dude just blasts people. He knocks him in the next week. So I'm going to take him. And we talked about him on the Final Fights. Just watching Brad Pitt's physicality, the way he hits, and how much trouble he causes with his fists. I had to include him in my squad. So I'm taking Mickey O'Neill. Who's your third pick? Okay, I gotta go with Clockwork Orange, Malcolm McDowell. Their whole life is violence. But I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go with a scene where he basically fights his own gang in the movie and does it so gracefulully with ease. But their whole life, again, ultra violence. It's all about fighting and drinking and screwing, and it's
scrapping at its finest. So I got to go with Alex Mac McDowell in Clockwork Orange, just for the stylized look of it, and then just for being glorifying, again, getting back to the Warriors, glorifying gangs.
No, I love it. So my fourth pick is Ode Sue from Old Boy, played by Choi Min-sik, or Min-sik Choi, where he learns how to box for years of imprisonment, and then when they let him loose, he has a hallway fight where he just outboxes about 30 people in a hallway fight. I mean, his fists are brutal in this movie, Dave. So watch it. Have you seen Old Boy? And that one, So his. Oh, well,
yeah. I mean, he's nuts. I mean, the hammer scene is.
Oh yeah. So good. I just love his hands. He has good jabs. Like, he can work some punches. So I dig, and he's tough as nails, too. So I had to take him from Old Boy just to add some tough as nails. Like, he got stabbed 4 times, and he's just knocking dudes out. It made me so happy. I love that movie. All right, who's your fourth pick?
I'm going to go classic on this. I'm going to go Bruce Lee in Game of Death, where he fights Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh, dude, great fight scene.
It shouldn't work because Kareem is twice his size, but he makes it look effortlessly. Of course, it's Bruce Lee, so you can't you can't go wrong with that. But it's cartoony in its style, but it's so fucking weird to see Kareem as Bruce is fighting his way through this house. But it holds up. It's still a pretty solid fight scene on that.
I mean, there's good choreography. It's a lot of fun. You gotta those movies never age. I love those films.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, my last one. This is random, but I'm taking Wesley Snipes from the 2002 film Undisputed. He plays a character called Monroe Hutchins, and he is John Levengood and I did a Final Fights episode about this, but Wesley Snipes is this prison champ boxer, and he ends up boxing George the Iceman Chambers, who's kind of a take on Mike Tyson, and he wins the fight against George. So he's this guy who just boxes in prisons. He boxes all the best guys, and he knocks out the heavyweight champ of the world, and then they keep it secret. No one knows about it. But he takes out the dude and knocks him down for the first time ever, wins. But Wesley Snipes, for another Walter Hill-directed movie, in Undisputed, because Wesley Snipes is really believable in it. The boxing's excellent. Ving Rhames looks amazing. So Monroe Hutchins knocked out the heavyweight champion of the world inside a prison fight. So I got to give him the all-hands crew for this.
I'm stumped on this last one, but it something I was thinking about because we were talking about David Patrick Kelly, Luther from the Warriors. That made me think about John Wick, which he's in that movie as Charlie the Cleaner. So I started thinking that probably that fight scene between John Wick and now I'm showing.
Which one is it?
It's the second one. John Wick 2, where he fights the black actor. I can't remember his name.
Common.
And he fights him, and, of course, they're fighting all through the streets and end up, in the actual hotel itself. So, yeah, it's exhausting to watch them. I mean, this supposedly, the series takes place, over a course of, almost like one night. So it's just exhausting to see John Wick go through this incredible fight scene and then to have it end in a bar in the hotel, and then they both take time out to have cocktails, after beating the literal shit out of each other. But I'm bringing that back around to tying into the Warriors because David Patrick Kelly is in that series as well. So yeah, John Wick and the second one on that. So yeah. And and mine are random. I mean, it's hard for me to pick favorites.
You're all right, man. I hear you.
And that's why I kind of went weird, with the McFlys, and of course Harrison Ford. I kind of like the layman's fighter, the guy who, doesn't really do this that well, but he sure as hell tries. As opposed to some of the stylized stuff. So yeah, but I had to choose Bruce Lee just because that's the best. But yeah, I'm still proud of the Back to the Future, the McFlys, both the McFlys. I think that's my favorite fight scene.
They're one punch KO machines, man. You got it.
Yeah, totally. Changing history, changing the future.
No, but I guess we'll jump back into the Warriors here. Another thing I thought was interesting, I love the narrator in this, and I just loved her voice in the song she was playing, the way she said boppers. But the actress didn't know that they were only going to film her lips. So when they watched the movie, she was incredibly disappointed, but then she realized, wow, this movie has since become iconic, and her role is iconic. She looks cool. So I think I love her role. Obviously, we don't see her face, but I do like that she's this Greek chorus talking to the Warriors and nowhere to run to, baby. What a great scene. But I feel bad for her, but as time has gone on, she realizes that it's pretty neat now what they did.
Yeah, I mean, she was. Was it David Patrick Kelly that got her that job?
Yeah, because they were on a play together. Yeah.
Yeah, recommended her for doing that. So yeah, again, we're going back to the Greek mythology. Yeah, she was a Greek chorus in that. She kept you abreast of what was going on, and even though these guys were falsely accused, I also want to call her, she was calling all other gangs to beat these, or catch these guys and beat them up. So she kind of was adding to the falsehood that these guys were responsible for killing Cyrus.
And Cleon got killed too. That's crazy.
But it just holds up so well. But it really didn't strike me as a Greek, tragedy or Greek mythology until I started reading more about the movie itself and how it was made. It holds up as a great a modern fable, I guess, if you will.
What'd you think about the Lizzies?
I was a little disappointed that I think that somebody should have died in that scene.
Absolutely.
These guys got duped. The only person who was smart enough in that group was Rembrandt.
Yes.
Because he figured something was not quite right. And the fact that these guys are being chased through New York City, and all of a sudden they're going to stop and party with some girls. Like, guys, you're being chased by every gang in New York, and you're going to stop and party with some girl. And they kind of got what they deserved by getting duped. Again, going back to Greek mythology, they're like harpies.
Oh yeah, drawing them in.
Yeah, the Lizzies are like harpies, drawing them in.
Sirens.
Sirens seducing them. And, here these guys were just stupid to the core as far as, not keeping on the edge. And they had the advantage. Had they had more than one handgun,
yeah.
If they had more than one handgun, I think these guys could have taken out all the rest of the Warriors in that scene.
I mean, Vermin was supposed to die, but they liked him so much they kept him alive. But because of that, they made the scene pointless. Yeah, I would say.
And the other one who gets hurt is Rembrandt, who was the one who was warning everybody that this is not right. We got to get back. We got to find the rest of our crew. And he's the one guy who gets slashed in the arm with a knife because he was trying to do the right thing.
And you're right, too. With this journey, Cleon dies in the beginning. Oh, well, I guess Fox dies, but no one ever talks about him again, and he's uncredited in the movie. Ajax is arrested. They probably did they need to kill somebody off? Like maybe a Vermin just getting shot?
I think to make the scene a little bit more edgier, darker, and just to kind of teach you a lesson, to stay the course. Again, these were like harpies taunting the sailors to crash into the rocks, and these guys walked right into it and got their asses handed to them. Dan Mayer got killed, but yeah, I think somebody should have gotten off in that scene. But I mean, it worked. It was the only time where the Warriors actually came close to fucking dying.
And
so
they almost got it too, man. Jeez Louise, they almost got it.
Yeah, no, it was a close call, but it was a great scene. I love it. You're sitting there going, okay, what's happening here? And is this, too good to be true? All these chicks, waiting for you. First off, they're waiting for you in the subway.
Yeah.
And kind of eyeballing you, and you fall for it. I'm like, all right, guys.
Don't the mermaids lead you into the water and then you're dead?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The sirens lead, they sing a song and then they lead you to crash your ship into the rocks. And that's exactly what these guys want. So yeah, this thing is really leaning towards a Greek mythology on this. But yeah, great scene. Great scene on that.
What do you think this movie would have done? Oh, I just want to read you a couple things. So this is in regard to the character of Fox dying and the actor Thomas Waits. Finally, one night, roughly 7 weeks into shooting, Hill had enough. The production was filming at Hoyt Scheuermann Station in downtown Brooklyn, a scene in which the Warriors must make a mad dash from the cops across the subway platform. Craig Baxley, the stunt coordinator on the film, remembers Hill turning to him during the shoot and saying, "You have to come up with a way to kill this guy because I don't want him in the movie anymore." So then they just toss him in front of the train. They didn't even have that scripted. He hated Fox so much much he did that to him. It's just gnarly. And then also one thing too, despite all the hurdles, all the budget battles, all the run-ins with the gangs, the Warriors opened in 670 theaters nationwide on February 9, 1979. It debuted at #1 at the box office and pulled in $10 million in its first 2 weeks, nearly double the film's production costs. People were lining up around the block at screenings. So the movie, do you think if they would have kept it in theaters, it would have, this movie could have been, let's say 50 million, which then translate to at least 150, 200 million in today's economy with inflation. It's kind of a shame this got taken out of theaters because it was on its way to become a big success.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it also created interest in the movie that, this, now people really wanted to see it. I don't know how they were going to be able to do it at the time, but it did create interest in it because it got pulled. And, it's just like any teenager. When you tell a teenager you can't do that, they're going to do it.
Yeah, you're right.
So all it did was create interest in the film. So, I think that was, eventually when VHS came, to the situation, it brought it back into vogue again and people were able to watch it. But yeah, I think it could have made more money, had it, at that time. I mean, again, it's cartoon violence. It's not like today's films. Where you try to top each other with the best gore and broken bones and whatever. It was a pretty innocent, fight scene. You didn't really see any blood. And so compared to today's stuff, it would have been an innocent movie on that. I mean, what was the rating on that?
Well, it's R because they drop a bunch of F-bombs. Ajax, mostly.
Oh, God. He's so good. He's so good in that. He has some of the best lines on that.
Any final thoughts about this movie before we get out of here?
This holds up as far as another one, a classic film, Walter Hill directed. I don't know that anybody else could have made it look as good. And if I'm not mistaken, he kind of took this project because something else he was doing fell through. Almost didn't happen. It almost was one of those things where, much like, we were talking about The Sorcerer and William Friedkin, where he was working on one project that fell through and then he went to The Sorcerer. I think the same thing would have happened. I don't think Warriors would have been made had Walter Hill not had some small window of opportunity to do something. So we may not have had this movie, but I think I haven't read the novel that it's based on, but I think it was a pretty accurate touchstone, I guess, for teenagers at that time. The grittiness of New York City, everything was real looking. Everything held up and still holds up really well. So I got to put that, up with one of my top 10 films as far as longevity. It's got legs on it. It's got some great young actors, first time actors in a movie. It was a multicultural film, and the Warriors were a blended gang. A lot of the gangs were either white or black or Hispanic or or Asian. The Warriors were the United Nations of gangs because there was everything in that gang. The only thing they didn't, and then they added a woman later, Mercy. So literally, they were the all-inclusive gang that let anybody or everybody in there. If you were from Coney Island, boom, you were in the Warriors. So
it's just refreshing to watch. I love movies with diverse casts. It gets so boring sometimes seeing just the stock actors in there. So whenever you watch this and you haven't seen these actors in too many roles, so that's Cochise, right? That's Cleon. That's Luther. That's Swan. You see them as their characters.
Yeah, James Remar is always going to be Ajax to me, no matter what he's done. I mean, he played Dexter Dead in the TV series Dexter. I think he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in a bounty law scene. So he's always working, always playing characters. But much like you and I, we have an opportunity to see some of these people at Comic-Con that we work. And I met James Remar. I did walk up to him and say, thank you for the Warriors. Thank you for the Ajax characters. And he was quite happy to still, be involved in that project. But he will always be Ajax to me. And he still looks the same. I mean, but he's still got that cockiness. So, yeah, I'm glad some of these guys went on to bigger and better things and had some longevity. I mean, a lot of the other actors in the Warriors disappeared or, didn't really go through. But I think it's just, it's a movie that I'll watch, at least a couple times a year. Because it's just easy to put on, hour and a half long, and it's just got solid performances, and the cinematography is great, and the soundtrack is great, and I just highly recommend this movie. Walter Hill's Warriors from 1979, great film.
Well, thank you for joining me, Dave. This was fun. I love this movie, so I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm glad you invited me. I'm also glad that I was able to get my props in and do my.
Mark, come out. out to play.
Hey, wait, so yeah. Dave, say this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week, but in that voice.
This is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week. Come out to play.